Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to your phonics lesson. Let's go through some special sounds together. You're in pure, like in cure, impure, secure, securely. Boys and girls, can you read those words yourself? Let's try another one. Old in gold. Or in mold, cold, told, folded, sold, holding. Can you read those words back to me? Great job. Let's do one more. In earth. Or in the words earn, yearn, learn, search, pearl, earthquake. Can you read these words back to me? Boys and girls, what do you notice about the word earthquake? What's something special about the word earthquake? If you said that's a compound word, that's right. Boys and girls, earthquake is a compound word because there are two words that can be all by themselves in the word earthquake. The first word is earth, and the second word is quake. Good job. Boys and girls, we are going to look at the sentences that I've written on the board. Now, yesterday we talked about verbs that make sense in a sentence. So verbs that make sense in a sentence, we are talking about using singular subjects and plural subjects. And we remember that a singular subject of a sentence, the subject of a sentence tells us who or what the sentence is about, right? And if it's a singular subject, that there's only one. There's only one of something. If it's a plural subject, there's more than one of something. Sometimes we need to change the verbs. We need to add an S or an ES to the verbs so that they make sense in a sentence. Let's read these sentences together, and you're going to have to tell me if we need to add anything to the verbs so that they make sense. The tall cowboy ride the cow. The tall cowboy ride the cow. Do I need to add anything to the verb so that it makes sense in the sentence? That's right, boys and girls. That doesn't make any sense. The tall cowboy rides the cow. That's right. I need to add an S to ride so that it makes sense in the sentence. The tall cowboy rides the cow. Let's do the next one together. My pastor preach on Sunday. My pastor preach on Sunday. Is that correct? That's right, boys and girls. That's not correct. That doesn't make sense in that sentence. It should be, my pastor preaches on Sunday. What do I need to add to preach to change it to preaches? If you said ES, that's right. To the word preach, I need to add ES. My pastor preaches on Sunday. Now my sentence makes sense. We needed to add an S and an ES to these verbs because the subject is singular. There's only one tall cowboy and there's only one pastor. Mike like macaroni. Mike like macaroni. Does that sentence make sense? No, that sentence doesn't make sense. Mike like macaroni. That doesn't make sense. What do I need to add to the verb like so that it makes sense? That's right. I need to add an S. Mike likes macaroni. Let's try one more. My grandparents live in that house. Does that sentence make sense? That's right. That sentence does make sense. My grandparents live in that house. So why did I not need to add an S to the verb live? That's a tricky question. Why didn't I need to add an S to the verb live? It's because my grandparents is a plural subject. Who or what is this sentence about? The sentence is about my grandparents. And there are more than one grandparent that we are talking about. So this subject is plural. When the subject is plural, we don't add an S or an ES to the verb for it to make sense. Now remember, boys and girls, what Mrs. Agrawal wants you to do is to reread the sentence in your head to say, does this make sense? Or when you're at home, you can read it out loud. My grandparents live in that house. That makes sense to me when I read it. The tall cowboy rides the cow. Now that I fixed that sentence makes sense when I read it. Boys and girls, today we are going to talk about something different so that we can pull out the subject and the verb of a sentence. Okay? So the subject and the verb of a sentence. Let's go through these sentences and let's underline the subject and circle the verb in these sentences. The tall cowboy rides the cow. The tall cowboy rides the cow. The subject of that sentence is the tall cowboy. Who or what is the sentence about? The sentence is about the tall cowboy. What is the cowboy doing? What is the action in this sentence? That's going to tell us what the verb is. The verb in this sentence is what? That's right, rides. Rides is the verb in this sentence. My pastor preaches on Sunday. Who or what is the sentence about? This is the subject of the sentence. My pastor. What is my pastor doing? What's the verb in this sentence? That's right, preaches is the verb. Mike likes macaroni. What's the subject of this sentence? Mike. This is a tricky verb. This is a verb that you cannot see. What's the verb in this sentence? That's right, likes. My grandparents live in that house. What is the subject of that sentence? That's right, my grandparents. What's the verb in that sentence? That's right, live. My grandparents live in that house. Live is the verb. Boys and girls, so we've learned how to find the verb and the subject in a sentence. And we're going to do something that helps us pull those verbs and subjects out of the sentence so that we can tell what they are. It's something called diagramming. So diagramming is we're going to make a special picture of our subjects and our verbs. So we're going to pretend, boys and girls, that we're building a house when we're doing this diagram. Okay? So we're going to pretend that we're building our house. And so we're going to need just two little things to start building our house before we put the subject and the verb in our house. So we're going to need a foundation. So let's put a foundation in our house. So when we do our diagrams, we're going to put a foundation. We're just going to draw a straight line. And then the next thing we're going to do when we're building our house is we're going to put up our wall. And on one side of our wall, when we do our diagrams, we're going to put the subject. This is where the subject lives in our house. And on the other side of our house that we've built, that's where the verb lives. So boys and girls, we are going to train our brains to use diagramming to help us with our sentences. So let's look at these sentences that Mrs. Agrell has written. Dad took us to the zoo. Dad took us to the zoo. What's the subject in that sentence? If you said dad, you'd be right. Dad is the subject of the sentence. It's who or what the sentence is about. So what I'm going to do with my diagram is I'm going to write dad, where the subject lives. And where the verb lives, what am I going to put? What is the verb in that sentence? Took. That's right. Took is the verb. What is dad doing? He took us to the zoo. So the verb lives on this side of our house. Let's try the second sentence. The canoe sank in the sea. The canoe sank in the sea. What's the subject of that sentence? Who or what is that sentence about? It's about the canoe. That's right. So we're going to go back to our house, our diagram, our special picture that's helping us to say what's the subject and what's the verb. So we're going to write the canoe. The canoe sank in the sea. What's the verb? What is the canoe doing? Sank. That's right. So we are going to write sank where the verb lives in our diagram. Boys and girls, when you are doing your worksheets, you're going to use our house or our diagram to help us pull out the subjects and the verb of the sentence. Now let's get to work.